Well, joining me now, Jenny Manson, who's co-chair of Jewish Voice for Labour, one of the few Jewish advocacy groups which has urged the Labour Party NEC not to adopt in full the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance's definition and examples of anti-Semitism. And Jenny, thank you for coming in. It's the examples that are the issue here. And you would be happy if they're not adopted this afternoon?
Am I allowed to say one thing about what Ian Watson said, please,
yes,
before we go on? First of all, there was a very big demonstration, and he mentioned the Jewish demonstrators against the demonstration in support of Corbyn. That many of us Jews were in the part of the demonstration, which was very large, supporting Corbyn and what the NEC is likely to do this afternoon, which I'll come back to. I want to make one comment about Pete Wilson, if I may. These are allegations of anti-Semitism. I defended him yesterday in an interview. He was a bit insensitive. None of the remarks he made, when you hear the whole recording, which I have, were anti-Semitic. And this is part of the bullying that's been going on all summer. Ever since the IHRA was, the suggestion was it would be replaced by a code of conduct, which I think is much better, which is what I'll explain in a minute. There has been bullying of a terrible nature. Looking back at Jeremy, well, by the media, I suppose, but the media is being spurred on by a small part of the Jewish community. After all, the Jewish community means all the Jews living in Britain, of which I'm one, and there are many of us. When you say the only organisation, there is several other Jewish organisations, Jews who support Corbyn. But I wanted to mention the bullying, but I'll move on now to that.
Well, let's just explore the bullying claims, because it's not just down to the media, is it? Because within the Labour Party itself, you had a former Labour leader, Gordon Brown, at the weekend saying we need to sort this problem out within our party.
I heard Chris Williamson describe the media as something like media amplification. What I think has happened is that the media have fallen into a trap, in my view, which is to think that because a lot of very well-established Labour figures and a lot of very well-established Jewish figures like rabbis and chief rabbis have said something, not that it's untrue, but that it can't be questioned. And I think the facts should be questioned at all stages, and I don't think they have been.
But isn't that exactly what is going on? And it's the fact that it is being questioned within the party, which is why the media says there is a split.
I don't think the criticism of Corbyn and people like me and of the Code of Conduct has been questioned. So, for example, time after time, people say the 4 examples have been removed. They have not been removed. They've been rewritten. But that mistake has been made through the media and through the... Anyway, let me get back onto the examples, which is what you asked me about. But it is true, it's the bullying, what I call bullying, and I've been bullied too, which I think people out there are not aware of, and the unquestioning.
But you've been bullied by who?
In my own area, I have faced people questioning my motives for this in a way I would never dream of questioning their motives, actually. I think we shouldn't be in the matter. My motives are for an equitable solution and for a fair Labour Party, which I think we have. But can I go on to the code and examples? I know it's the other subject we can come back to. The IHRA definition is a very poor one, which needs bumping up, if that's the word. And the Code of Conduct has improved on the definition of anti-Semitism enormously by including stereotyping and other forms of anti-Semitism. The definition itself is okay. The examples, however, were more or less written on the back of an envelope for a press release by someone called Kenneth Stern, an American Jew, who's now said, I don't think the examples are very good. So they're not biblical. They're not very bad, but they're not biblical. And what I'm hoping is that if, after all this, is a kind of very, very good attempt, I think, at trying to reconcile different views, the whole statement is included by the Labour Party in its code, that they will then protect the right of, for example, Palestinians living in England and Muslims living in England, you're not hearing their voices very often, who consider that Israel is a racist state, or even that some actions of Israel are racist, that they will be allowed to say that without fear. At the moment, there is a lot of fear, and a lot of meetings have been cancelled on the basis that IHRA could be enacted against them. There's been a lot of, perhaps you don't know that, a lot of meetings have been cancelled in the last year or so, citing IHRA.
At the heart of this is the ability to criticise Israeli policy, isn't it?
It is. I think it is. And I think when you said to me, where's this coming from? I'm not going to get involved in sort of conspiracies, but there is certainly an enormous attempt, I think, to give Israel a particular protection that other countries don't have. So, for example, in the preamble to the examples in IHRA, it says something like, however, it's not anti-Semitic to criticise Israel in a way you criticise other countries. Well, you can't always have equivalence. There are times when everybody's criticising Myanmar, or everyone's criticising France. I'm not trying to make a very difficult comment. Everyone's criticising France for their treatment of Muslims, for example, let's say. we can't always say, but there are other countries doing X, Y, Z as well. So there must be a sense that you can criticise Israel full stop, in my view.
Very, very brief, I'm sorry we're out of time, but couldn't Jeremy Corbyn have grabbed this by the scruff of the neck some time ago and stopped it developing into the full-blown problem it really is for Labour?
Can I get back to the bullying thing? This has been remorseless. It is not a problem. I heard Laura Kuenssberg this morning saying, when they recognise the scale, there is less anti-Semitism, all the evidence suggests, in the Labour Party than in other parties. There is less anti-Semitism, would you believe it, under Corbyn, if you actually surveyed members,
she was talking about the scale of the problem, because it is a problem for Labour.
I accept, but the scale of the issue I don't accept. I think, of course my views are a minority view. My view is that Jeremy Corbyn has tried incredibly hard. He set up the Chami Chakravarti report. He set up a disciplinary unit. He explains. He apologises when he feels he's made a mistake. But the getting at him has been remorseless. And I think it's my own view, and I'd love to see what research says 10 years' time, this is unprecedented. No leader has ever been called a racist or an anti-Semitic, remorselessly, day after day for nearly 2 years. A story about what he said at some meeting 20 years ago, what he did somewhere else. This is, it's not a conspiracy, but it is distasteful.
Well, Jenny Manson, it's very good to come and talk about that, co-chair of Jewish Voice for Labour. Thank you very much.